friends, my name is Joey Balistreri. Welcome to my work table. This is such a fun, relaxing project, and if you are brand new to jewelry making, I really encourage you to give this a try if you like it, because you can continue to add to this design and any skill level can do this, and there are a lot of possibilities you'll see as we get going. A lot of possibilities with this design for changing it, for making it your own, and for doing the type of jewelry that you like to do. So I'm going to start out with a chain that I love. I have replenished this chain in my stash quite a few times. I did not measure it in inches. I just put it around my neck to see where I wanted it to land, and you can do the same thing. And so this is a little bit going to look a little bit strange as a necklace design, but this is the part that goes around my neck, no clasp. And so on this end here, and I do like my necklaces long, so mine's going to be off camera a little bit, but this end I have taken a pair of gold filled little lobster claw clasp, and these come in an assortment. I have replenished this in my stash so many times. I was gonna see if I still had the other part of the assortment handy, but I don't. But they are gold filled. They have a nice little weight to them. I just love these, and there are several different styles in the assortment, but I had one left over from my last order that matched the one in my recent order, and I also have these gold filled diamond cut jump rings. They're amazing. They have a nice thick gauge. They're really nice and firm. And if you close them properly, you really can't see that it's not a solid ring, because they are just really, the diamond cutting just really hides the cut. So that's what that little ring looks like, and I am simply going to add it onto my chain and then add my little lobster clasp and just make sure that that's closed really well. And so here's where, like, just on this first part of this design, I will say that you can do your own beaded chain here, or do a simple figure 8 chain with gold wire. This back part could even be just little seed beads strung on bead stringing wire, whatever you want for the body of your necklace. But I'm going to be making attachable drops here, not drops, attachable links. And that is one of the reasons I like this larger jump ring, because if I want to fit 2 or 3 or more, this opening here in this lobster claw will accommodate that. And so those diamond cut jump rings that I'm using to attach here came also in an assortment of different sizes. So that is the medium size that was in the assortment that I used there, and this is the largest size. I can't remember the millimeter, but it looks like maybe a 10 millimeter. And so what I'm going to do is, for all of my add-on sections, I will finish each one of those strands with one of these on the end. So that will clasp right onto here. So as I said, I will be able to just add one and just wear it that way, or I can do 2. I can make all different lengths. I can make like a short strand, a medium strand, a long strand, and then my plan is, I'm doing autumnal things, but when we leave this season and we come into winter or into spring, I can still use this back part of my convertible necklace and make strands for the upcoming seasons. And I also think this would be a fabulous gift, because if you have a sister, a mother, a best friend, a neighbor, somebody that you love, that you see regularly, you could gift them the main body of the chain and maybe 1 or 2 strands to attach. And then as the seasons change or as occasions come up, you can gift them more things to clip onto their necklace. So it's like an ever-giving gift, the ever-changing, seasonless. And so I would encourage you to choose something you really love that you would reach for all the time for the main body of the necklace, but also think about something that will easily coordinate with other things that you're going to add in. So let's get going on this. I'll show you what I am choosing, because right now I'm feeling autumn, and so I have this beautiful little mix of 6mm faceted Czech glass rounds, and they call this a Czech glass amber, but it is really a mix, and it almost looks metallic, but it is glass. And there are, as you can see, like the autumnal leaf colors, like there's greens and burgundies and oranges and golds and some kind of really deep eggplant, and they're just beautiful. So my plan for one of my add-in lengths is going to be a beaded chain with these little links that or components that I have created. So I have a little start here, and I'm going to show you how I did these. Now, I love my one-step looper, and I have been using the 2 1/4mm one-step looper because with a little bit larger hole here, you get a more fluid chain. So if I want to, and I haven't really decided yet, but if I want to, I can open and close each of these simple loops and just attach them together and have my chain be that way. But oftentimes, for more movement and fluidity, I will make some small jump rings and connect each component with jump rings. I haven't really decided what I want to do, but that is that possibility, and I wanted to show you what has gone into these components. I always go into my stash for seed beads when I'm starting a project, and so these are 8/0 seed beads that are Duracoat galvanized gold. And if you are not familiar with seed beads and some of these labels, what that means is the Duracoat galvanized is that these will hold their color. The gold won't darken or tarnish or rub off. So for like chains, for things that may get a lot of wear, really for any of your work, it's really nice to have, you know, but they do cost a little bit more, but for me, it's worth it, especially when, you know, I'm doing something kind of special. So that is the little spacer that I used in each of these components. And then I'm going to show you 2 ways to make these simple loops. I love my one-step looper, especially when I'm going to do a long beaded chain, repetitive, with a lot of components. I just swing this out of my way, you know, in between making the loops, keep it on hand, and I do great with this. The wire that I love, this is 20 gauge wire, and I am using the Soft Flex craft wire, and it is gold plated, and it has an anti-tarnish coating on it. It's wonderful wire. I also love this because you can get this in 18 gauge and 22 gauge, 24 gauge, 26 gauge. So if you're doing herringbone, if you're doing anything with wire and you need different sizes, but you would like everything to match, it is wonderful to have that availability. So with a one-step looper for simple loops, for my first loop that has no beads on the wire, I'm just going to place my wire in the tool and just pass the back jaw of the tool, because it makes a nice, fresh, straight, blunt cut. So we can skip that step with our cutters, which, you know, we normally do that when you're about to do a spiral or a loop or anything. Now, I'll show you when the beads come on. There is a guide hole here, and with the beads on, you may want that guide hole, but when there's nothing on the wire, there's no point in wasting, you know, ½ inch of wire. It's going to cut right there. So I'm just going to slowly close the tool. It makes that little fresh cut. Close it all the way, but now I can see that my wire is going, you know, upward. It's not centered, so I'm just going to pull it down, warm and straighten, and I can see it made that loop right there, and I can see that my wire is now right in the center of the loop. And I just get really perfect loops with this tool. Now, sometimes if your wire went in a little crooked, you will have to tidy up your loop. I don't mind that, especially if I'm planning to open and close. My cutters just jumped off the desk. But I like to work hard in my loops, even just, you know, by opening and closing my pliers on the loop. So what I did for these little components is one of those galvanized seed beads and one of my 6mm Czech glass rounds, another seed bead, just flanking that little Czech glass. And now if you're using the one-step looper, it always makes the loop upward, and I just alternate. So I have this one going down. It's just a habit that I got into. You can do them all in the same direction if you like it that way. And so this time I will use the guide hole. I'm going to push the wire all the way through that hole in the back, and I'm going to just gently close the tool so that I can see what I'm doing. That seed bead is a little bit too close, so I'm just going to back it away just a tiny bit, just a millimeter or so, and just, you know, maintain control here. I see people popping this tool closed, which I don't know why you would do that. You have no control and you can't see what you're doing. You get a better grip here. So I'm just gonna let the tool make that cut. Believe it or not, there's a whole nother component in that little piece of wire. And I can see that I'm, you know, a little bit askew, but that's okay. Before I close the tool, I'm still maintaining control here. I'm just gonna pull my wire down and then continue to close. And I can see that my loops are perfectly aligned, but if they become misaligned, it's super easy while it's still in the tool just to take a pair of pliers and fix that. Now this one did not, it's just, the wire went in the tool just a little bit crooked, so it didn't close perfectly that time. But like I say, simple loops are made to be open and closed, and I like the opportunity to work hard in any way. And then, you know, if I'm gonna do a bunch of them, I will just swing the tool out of my way, pick up my wire, pick up my beads, and kind of keep working like that. But if you don't like the one-step looper, or you don't have it, you can do a pretty nice simple loop. See, wire was flying. You can do a pretty nice simple loop with like your bail making pliers. So I'm just going to come with that empty piece of wire and make a bend, and then I'm going to use my smallest step on my 6-step bail making plier. Oops, let me go in the right direction. And I'm just going to put this in, and this almost looks as if I'm going to do a wire wrapped loop. And by the way, you could totally do wire wrapped loops here. If you like that, then you would just be connecting with jump rings or connect them before you wrap the loops closed. That's why I say there's so many possibilities with this project. If you're a person that loves doing wire wrapped loops and not so much on simple loops, then, you know, do them that way. This is a really fun, relaxing project. So anyway, I have my 90-degree bend in there, and I'm just going to bring the wire over the barrel of the plier and just rotate it out of my way and bring it around. And like I say, it almost looks like I'm about to wrap this, but I'm just going to do that same thing. Just get this wire centered on that loop and then take the plier away, and then I'm going to come in with the flush side of my cutter right where that wire is meeting, you know, meeting up here, and trim that away. And like I say, I find that I get a better loop actually with the one-step looper, but that could just be me. Maybe that's just me in simple loops, but that is a really easy way to get a simple loop in. And then we'll just repeat the same thing, our little pattern here, with a gold seed bead, a Czech glass round, a gold seed bead, and then on this end, same thing. I'm going to, you know, just get a 45 to 90 degree bend. You're going to adjust your loop once you get it wrapped. So just get like a little bend in there. And then same thing, put that 6-step bail making plier where you will be wrapping around the smallest loop, and just bring the wire over the top, rotate it so it's out of your way. Bring that, I have to hold on to it tight here, bring that wire back around, and then just center it. Just, you know, make sure everything is centered before you take your plier away, and then just come in with your flush side of your flush cutter and snip that wire. So like I said, if you have the one-step looper, that's my preferred way when I have to sit and make a beaded chain or a rosary chain. That's my preferred way. I feel like I'm faster, and it's a lot easier on my hands. It doesn't flare up arthritis for me. And you know, like for me, I think I'm more consistent with that tool, but you still get a really, really pretty little component that way. So that's what I'm going to do, and I just have to kind of decide, and I'm kind of leaning towards connecting everything with jump rings, but I'll see. I haven't really decided. So let me talk to you about what else is here. I have this little dish. These are from my KRAFTIKA. I get 2 boxes directly from the Czech Republic every month, and so these are Czech glass in this beautiful like brushed gold, It's not a super flashy, shiny gold, so I really love it with the autumnal colors because it's a little bit of a muted gold. But I have these elongated bicones, some little cube beads, and some little tiny drucks. They're like 3mm rounds. Then they all came from either my Bohem style or my Czech Beads exclusive. I get those 2 boxes every month, and I had these left over. So I just put them all in a dish. And I'm using my Soft Flex Metallics Antique Brass color. This is the 49 strand medium all-purpose wire. I absolutely love this. It is my favorite bead stringing wire for sure. I like to string on other things like Brazilian wax cord, but this is awesome. So I have just taken, I'm not sure of my length yet, so I have just I'm working right off the spool, and I have just played a little bit with a pattern using those beads. And you guys have been around me for a few minutes, you know that I always go into my stash and pull out seed beads pretty much for every project. They're wonderful spacers. They give you a little bit of length if you need it, if you want to add, like I didn't know how far in length I would get with what I had here. So I've just been playing with this little pattern. Let me pull it up to the camera so you can see. And I just decided, whoops, it is just not wanting to stay in my hand. So I just decided to add in a little bit of that like burgundy wine or that autumn berry color with those gold, and also put those seed beads in there as well, just flanking the elongated bicones. And I'm just stringing. I just put a little clamp on the end, and so when I get to a length that I like, I'm going to attach it right here. I'm going to crimp with one of these on the end. So let me just get it to cooperate. I'm just going to bring it down here. And right here on this end, I'm just going to use a number 2 crimp tube and attach it right to this gold filled jump ring, and then that will be able to clip right on here. And so this is the beauty of this design, is you can do beaded chains, you can do simple stringing, you could do a knotted section to add on here. You just knot your waxed cord or cotton cord right onto one of these jump rings, and then that can clip on. Like, the sky is the limit for your sections that you can add on to this necklace. And so you can layer it up. As I said, you can do, you know, a short, medium, long, or do a whole clump of strands that are all the same length. Like, just have fun, and then over time add to the design. This be your base necklace. So one of the things I love about this is it is a solid brass chain. The links are solid. You're not able to open them, and it has an e-coating, so it's anti-tarnish, so it's a good high quality chain. But if you invest in a chain that's gold filled or something like that, and you don't want to just use it on just one necklace, you could use it for the base of your necklace and then just, you know, keep designing. It's just such a great plan. I did a project like this about a year ago. It was also with an autumn vibe. It was one of my very first videos when I started my channel, and the response from it was just really great. I think I did lobster claw clasps on that one as well, but I think I reversed it. I think each of my add-in strands had a lobster claw here. I can't really remember because it's been almost a year, but I have also done something similar where I used magnets, magnetic clasps. So, you know, if you like magnets, that's also a great thing to do here. But one of the reasons I like this is I could actually just clasp these two together and put this behind my head. If, well, I just, there. You know, I could do it like that and have just a plain gold chain that way too. So like the wearable possibilities and, you know, the fun of a design like this is just, it's just endless. Like, you can just have so much fun. Let me unhook these. There we go. And so anyway, I'm going to finish stringing this, and then I will show you what I plan to do for the crimping. And I actually think the beauty of soft flex wire is that you don't need to cover it. Like, it's so pretty that you can actually let this be part of your design. But I think in this case, I am going to make a little seed bead loop and, you know, just add in that burgundy. And so here again, since I'm doing like a fall collection for this piece, just everything that I chose, I just want to make sure that everything coordinates so that I do have all those possibilities. So that I'll finish stringing it off camera, and then I will come back and show you guys how I do my crimps. But I have one other strand that I want to make, and this is from Halcraft. These are O-rings. Let's see what they call these. These are also that amber. It's that Czech glass amber is the colorway, although, you know, it's got greens and burgundies and a couple of different golds and even sort of like a dark taupe in there. And these are, it's a rondelle mix, but these have really large holes. Let me cut this open. And so my plan for this strand is to simply attach a whole bunch of these with jump rings to make a chain. So I got this idea from one of the bead companies that I represent in one of their boxes, and it was just so fun. When I was doing it, I thought to myself, I could just do a really long necklace this way and just, you know, enjoy myself. It's just simple connecting. So I had these in my stash back from when Halcraft did have an e-commerce site. They no longer do, but Halcraft is sold at Michael's, which is a national craft chain in America for my American friends. But you know what they are, so like I say, I just had these in my stash. So I'm going to take this same bail making plier, and I'm going to go to this second to the smallest step and another piece of that 20 gauge wire and just make some jump rings. So I'm going to start by getting a little loop in here. Oh, I have another plier that has a really long mandrel on it that I like for jump rings, but you know, I had this one out, so I'm going to do that. I sometimes struggle with remembering not remembering, I have dyslexia. So, you know, so on a shorter bail like that, you have to remember that you are wrapping toward your hand or toward the handle of the pliers, so that you can make as many as you want. So as you're coiling, the jump rings go off the end of the tool. So let me show you my other plier. Some of you have seen this because it's one of my favorites. I have this one that has really long mandrels, and it's got a really comfortable handle too. I always link my tools. I always link my favorite tools in the description boxes of my videos, because I get so many messages of people that are newer to jewelry making, and you know, you might just be starting to gather your tools. And I mean, I have years of collecting jewelry making tools, and sometimes you don't even know what a thing does, you know. So this way you can kind of see the difference and decide what you think you might like to work with for yourself. But I'm just going to coil the whole length of this wire. Okay, and once I have my coil done, I'm going to go back to the beginning and use the flush side of my cutter right where my first coil was, and just snip. And just try to snip a straight line up the center of this coil. And I love making my own jump rings because, again, the wire matches. It's got the anti-tarnish coating on it, and you know, I feel like they close better than a lot of the commercially made ones. And I just go slowly and try not, you know, I don't try to cut a whole bunch at one time. And so the beauty of that is with a 6-step bail making plier, you can make as many sizes as you have bails to make. So if you need a really large one, you can make, you know, a length of larger ones. If you need really small ones, that one stuck to me. Okay, last one. So I am pretty sure that these are going to be too small to connect these little O-rings, but I'm going to give it a try. I think I might need to use the next bail up because of the thickness of these little rondelles. Yeah, it's not going to give me enough movement and not enough space to connect the next ring. But I wanted this size, and I wanted this size because I really do like to connect my components with a jump ring like this. It's more chain-like, and you just get a little bit more movement. And so you can definitely do it by just opening and closing your simple loops and connect the components right to each other. And I do that sometimes, but you know, I'm just going to put a jump ring in between each one and get a nice length there. And so I'll come, let's see, I will come to this next step down with another piece of that 20 gauge wire and do that same thing. Just make a length of jump rings. Okay, let's connect a couple of these. Whoops, the check glass won't open, that's for sure. And just for brand new people, the proper way to open and close a jump ring is to take it on either side with your pliers and twist. You know, pull one side toward you and one side away from you, and that's how you open it. If you take your pliers and try to pull it out that way, you will, you know, ruin the shape of the jump ring and most likely never get it back to being round again. So I'm just going to link in two of my little rondelles, and just, you know, when you're doing a chain or anything like this, really with anything, just make sure it's closed really well. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist with my jewelry, and you'll see me sometimes I even pause the camera just to like work hard in my jump rings, put my pliers on the inside of a ring just to make sure that I have a perfect round, run my finger over things. That is just the way that I make jewelry, but that's the start of it. Let me connect a couple so you can see what it will look like. Okay, so there's that beautiful little chain. And so I'm going to make some more jump rings and connect as many of these as I like the length, and that's going to be another section to add on to my necklace. And look how beautifully it goes with this and with this. I mean, it's just like a really pretty autumn check glass combination. And you know, I always will have my base to my necklace, so I can change that up if I want to do black, if I want to add something else in with this. So what I'm going to do is finish stringing the length on the strung part, finish making these components and connecting them with jump rings, and make some more jump rings and make my length of this. And I will come back, it'll just be a second for you, and I'll show you how we're going to finish up all the ends of these chains and attach. This has turned out so beautifully. I have completed my length, and I went ahead and just opened those gold jump rings and attached, and I was just playing with my different lengths of the sections that I can add in. I absolutely love this. I used every single one of the rings that I had, but as always happens to me when I'm doing a repetitive, it's very relaxing to just connect or, you know, repeat making simple loop components like this. So I was sitting here and I just was in the designing mode, and so I did save out some of these rings and some of these little check glass faceted rounds to do 2 pairs of earrings. So we'll do that at the end. But this is my last little section here, and again, very relaxing, just simple stringing. I just came up with a really petite pattern, and this is going to be the shortest length that I can add in if I'm wearing all 3 at one time. But if I want, you know, to add this by itself, I can do that. And because of the design of this, where these really decorative lobster clasps are right here, I can even turn any of these around and have any of this, especially I'm thinking this one, behind my neck, and have just this beautiful gold chain hanging down. Also with this design, because these open, if I have a large bail, which I do when I'm making pendants for myself, I'll put overly large bails on them. And as long as the bail can slide over this, I can use really any of these to hang a pendant from as well. So the wearability and convertibility of this is just like, the possibilities are endless. I'm so excited about this design. So I just finished this in just to show you what it's going to look like. So I used my magical crimping plier and one of the Softflex company's gold filled #2 crimp tubes and did a little seed bead loop and added that right to this jump ring, and that is ready to go onto the lobster claw clasp. So I'm going to do the other end and show you exactly what I did. The first end is always so easy because, you know, it's just crimp, but on this end I do want to worry about my spacing and that I don't have a rigid. I want to keep this fluid. And I will say, I mentioned it earlier, but you don't have to cover the Softflex wire. It's so lovely. They have so many colors, and I did use the antique brass just because it went so well with all the Czech glass, these kind of muted fall colors. And you know, I just decided to make a seed bead loop, but you don't have to. You can do just a Softflex wire loop here if you know, if you like that look and if you have a good matching color. So on this end, I'm going to put the crimp tube on, and I did 11 seed beads to make that loop. And, you know, just for design purposes, that's what I like the size of the loop with 11. And get these out of the way. Okay, so now I'm just going to make that loop. I already know that this wire is not going to feed back down through any of my Czech glass beads. So if it's possible when you do your loops to feed the tail wire down a little bit, it looks nice. But on this design, it just wasn't possible. So, you know, I'm okay with it. I'm just going to do a good job of trimming so that we don't see that. Use my pliers to get a hold of it and pull. And before I crimp, just want to make sure that everything looks good, that I got my pattern right. I designed this little pattern so that I have, these are kind of like stations with the elongated bicones and the cube beads. And so I did it so that I have one of those stations landing right in the middle of this section. And I'm just going to get my magical crimping plier here. It only has one divot, so I just want to go slowly and make sure of a couple of things on this end. First of all, that my crimp tube gets right into the center of the divot and not askew at all, because you can just mangle the crimp tube if you don't take your time and get it centered. And I'm also checking to make sure that I'm not going to chomp down on the seed beads or, you know, any of my stringing and break it. And I like my tension, so I'm just gonna close. I can see that I've pinched all 4 corners of that tube so it resembles a ravioli. And now I just put it in the opposite direction, making sure that I can feel that it's in the center, and close again. And now just maintain its position in that divot and go around and around a few times until I just feel like I'm not doing anything. I don't feel anything. And that's indicative that I have turned that little tube into a tiny gold bead. And it looks like that. What I love about the magical crimping plier and this crimp is that a non-jewelry maker will look at this and have no idea how this is held together, because this looks like it's not doing a function. It looks like a tiny little gold bead. So I really love that. Just get a nice close trim. It's really helpful to have sharp flush cutters, and I got these recently, a 2-pack from Amazon. Unbelievable price. I've been linking them below my videos because for the price they're just a really great value and nice and sharp. So this is done. I just have to open one of these diamond cut gold filled jump rings, and I find that these are just such good quality that it's really hard to even see that it's not a solid ring once you once you close it really well. Just get that in there. They're a nice thick gauge too. Okay, so that is done, and this is my third. Like, this little necklace just by itself is just so lovely, and it's going to attach on to the lobster claw clasp, and I can wear this as a multi-strand. I can take this one away. I can wear just this one. Look how gorgeous this chain is, you guys. And I wish we had Feel-O-Vision, because this just feels amazing. It's so fluid and it's just wonderful, as does this one. I mean, these Czech glass beads are just beautiful. But on this project, literally, these are beads that I had in my stash, but literally you could do this with anything. You know, choose what's your favorite, like, you know, things that you love, chain that you love, or make your own chain. I just, this is not complicated. It's really simple, and you can change this in so many ways with basic skills. If you have learned to make a loop and open and close a jump ring, you know, what could you not do here? And even on this one, I use the magical crimping plier, but you can do a fold over crimp method here. And honestly, you could even do a flat crimp where you put a crimp bead here and just, press down if you're having trouble with crimping, because this doesn't get a lot of stress like a bracelet where you would be tugging on it. And you know, I also like to just point out that you don't have to do anything to the magical crimping bead that it makes, but you can, if you want to put a crimp cover over that to make this finish look a little bit larger, you definitely can do that. So I'm just absolutely thrilled. Like, I can't put this down. I can't stop playing with it. I just love it. And again, I always mention I do my necklaces really long, so I will put up some pictures at the end of the video so you can get a really good look at this. But you can adjust this length. I mean, this design could be done for a much shorter length, you know, 18, 20 inches. I tend to love the drama and the way that a long necklace elongates me. You know, it's just a stylist kind of a thing. But this is so adjustable. So I'm going to set this aside. I have designed 2 pairs of earrings. As I was making all of my links, I just decided to save out, you know, the beads that I would need, and then adjust my length accordingly. So this is the first earring, and this is literally just repeating what I already did on that add-in section of my necklace. I just went through and picked out, you know, 3 of the colorways and enough to do 2 earrings and 1 of the beads. And I have these really cool, like, paddle, it's like a splayed, like a paddle end head pin for this one, and using all the same elements. And I did not put an ear wire on this because these fit so beautifully in my interchangeable lever back ear wires that are gold filled. That little jump ring just rests right in that little cradle. And look at that gorgeous earring. So simple, a little bit contemporary, very dangly and flirty, and just beautiful for fall. Just so pretty with all the autumn colors. But honestly, I think I would wear this year round. It's just lovely. So this is super simple. I did use my 1-step looper again just to keep the loops consistent. So I'm just going to take one of those same gold seed beads that I was using throughout the project, above and below. It's essentially the same. This is the same, let me pull this back in, as the components that I made for this part of the necklace. So I'm just keeping the design going so that it is a lovely set. Now on this earring, your direction of your loops does matter. So this, this, let me see how I can say, this drop, in order to have this paddle facing forward, I need the loop to be going in the same direction as the paddle. So let me get my 1.5 millimeter one-step looper, and I'm going to hold it this way so this paddle is facing me. And if you get this wrong, you can always take 2 pairs of pliers and turn your loop into another direction. But I'm just going to point out that the one-step looper makes the loop going up, so it would be like parallel to this little paddle to keep it facing forward, if that makes sense. And I'm just going to let it make that little loop. Make sure my seed bead is out of the jaw of the plier. So I close my one-step looper really slowly so that I can totally see what I'm doing. And it does look like my little paddle is not quite lined up with my loop. So this is a great time to just use your plier to make that little adjustment. And I'm not even going to tidy up that loop because I'm going to add it in to the bottom of this earring. Let me just dump all these little bits and pieces out here. And this is the same thing that we have been doing, that I just connecting, just open and close each of these jump rings. I do want to connect these rings by color. So I'm putting that one first, the gold one, and then I did green in the middle, and then that kind of purpley wine color at the bottom. Okay, and I did do one of the jump rings at the top and bottom of these linked sections, just because it just hung more nicely and just kept things facing forward. And now let me open this a little bit wider and just add it to the bottom. So these earrings are just like everything else in this project. Really simple, nothing complicated, literally a connecting situation, but stunning, like really stunning. I love these jump rings. They're so hard to even see the opening. They look solid. So really the only trick to this whole project is just closing things really well, connecting them really well. And this is ready to go. Look at that. Look how beautiful. It's so pretty. I mean, I just love this. So pretty. And I'll put some pictures up of these as well at the end of the video. Okay, this one is a little bit more complicated and I didn't quite finish it. So I started out with 2 pieces of wire, and I've got a little bit more here than I need, but I started out with 2 pieces of wire that are exactly the same length, and I used my largest one-step looper, which is this one. It's a 3 millimeter, and I needed that for the bottom loop here just because these little O's, these little check glass O's, they call them rondelles, but that is not a rondelle to me, it's an O bead. But anyway, that's what I needed to have it fit in that loop and move like that. So we will go ahead and add that in first. Wait, did I do the, before I add it, I want to show you because I did hammer this. That's why I left it off. So I don't know if the camera is showing you what I did here, but I flattened this wire with a riveting hammer, and then I put some texture in it with the other end of the riveting hammer. So it looks like that because I want this to be really contemporary, and I want to have a little bit of a downward rod for this earring. So it just looks like that. And again, it's that same, I'm repeating the pattern here that I did in this, you know, and I chose the ones that are a little bit burgundy colored because, again, just repeating all the elements in my necklace design. My Czech glass elongated bicone, once I hammered it, they were a little bit, it just had to be sure that I didn't hammer it so flat that this wouldn't slide down. But let me show you what I did. I just love to hammer wire, but you could totally make this earring without hammering if you just want to leave the wire round. But I have my little bench block here, and I have my riveting hammer. This is what it looks like. And what I did is I turned it so once I made the loop, since again the direction matters, so if you can see on this one, I want the loop, the ring bead, to be facing forward, so my loop has to go up and down. So for flattening the wire, I just put this over the edge of my bench block like that. So this is up and down rather than being like that. And so that way when I'm hammering, and I don't need to hammer so much here because my beads are going to slide down there, but it doesn't take much. I just hammered up and down, and then I turned it in the other direction, and it just kind of squares off the wire. And then I took this end of the hammer and just put some little dents just for texture. And again, you know, didn't need to do much down here because my beads are going to go down there. And then from here, the easiest thing to do is to open this loop and put the ring on the bottom. Just close it really well. Do a little bit of work hardening. So that's the first step. And then same thing, just repeating that pattern with one of the seed beads, one of the elongated bicone beads, and the seed bead. And then from here I have more length than I will need, although if you wanted an earring that long you could. But from here I'm just going to decide how much of a downward rod I want, and I'm going to do them pretty long at first. So I think what I'll do is just hold them together and just kind of make a point right there and just cut them together. Okay, and I am going to use my small one-step looper and place these one at a time. So again, these are going to go on my interchangeable ear wire. So in order for this to stay facing forward, I need my loop to be going, you know, to also be facing forward. So I'll turn it this way. And as I said, if you get this wrong, you can change it with your pliers afterwards. But can you see how the direction of this loop is this way? It's so hard for me to explain directions between my dyslexia and, you know, I think it's better just to show you. And so, you know, remembering that the one-step looper makes the loops going upward. And then in order for both of my earrings to be the same, I am going to use the guide hole this time. I'm just going to, can you see, I'm going to get it where my wire is right at the end of my guide hole. I'm just gently closing it just to hold it in place. And I can see that I need to straighten up this loop a little bit. Just turn it. And then I'm just going to let the one-step looper make the cut. I hammered this wire and I don't want it to flip out of the tool, which I see it wants to do. That's why I go slowly and just close it. And I'm just pulling it down. And I can see that this I can see that this one needs a little TLC, which is perfectly doable. Just close that loop really well, and then I'm just going to hold it and see how my earring is not doing what I want it to do. So get in here with a pair of pliers and just align everything. Beautiful. And then I have these ear wires that I made. I used 18 gauge wire, and I have a video for this. I can link it below, but this type of an earring can either go on the gold-filled interchangeable lever backs, or it can thread onto this kind of hoop style interchangeable ear wire that I designed and made. And I do have a video for this. It's really easy, really fun. You can use 20 gauge wire, 18 gauge wire, whatever you want for your ears. And I use the Soft Flex with the anti-tarnish coating, so they really last. But I love that little earring so much. Pretty. So I'm just going to repeat the exact same thing. Easy. It is on this side, but it is stunning. And as I said, you can even simplify it more. You don't have to hammer and texture like I did. You can simply leave the wire round, but I think it's more artisan. I just like to hammer the wire, and it doesn't take a lot of pounding. So I cannot tell you how much fun this was to do. It is a weekend, and so for me, I love to do a project like this on the weekend where I'm gonna listen to a movie and relax and, you know, create a lot of components. So I will definitely put some pictures up at the end. And I thank you so much for watching. Always check the description box underneath my videos, because I always work really hard on them. They're usually quite large. So under the video, if you tap more, it will open, but you almost always have to tap more a second time to see the whole box on my videos. And there I will put links to anything that I have, that I know where I got it, that I can link for you. Some things, like in this project, these beads were from the Howcraft website that has gone out of business. But if you, they're 6mm Czech glass if you want to try to use the same thing that I used. But as I said, any of your beads, something that you love, would be great for this project. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, creative friends.